for me, the first step is always clarifying the idea. How is it going to make money?
What you said, though, is something that I probably should have learned a long time ago. We don't follow the map, we don't wait for permission, and we sure as hell don't slow down. This is Beach Weekend Unfiltered, the raw story behind building businesses, chasing opportunity, and taking risks most people won't touch. From the Gulf Coast, Key West, Bahamas, from marinas to million-dollar deals, this is entrepreneurship at full throttle. The wins, the failures, the chaos, the grind. No filter, no safety net. So buckle up, it's about to get wild.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here at 4th in Atlanta, and we're picking up here with Tia Nava, and we're so glad that you're with us today. We're going to get to you in just one moment, but if you're new to the podcast, if you don't have notifications turned on or you're not subscribed yet, follow along every single week with us. You can follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We're all over the place now. Yep. And we're just doing our best to bring great entrepreneurial content focused around branding, strategy, how to help you grow your businesses. And so today, I think we have one of the greatest guests yet. Tia, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled that you're here. You've got a pretty awesome story about how you started your agency, 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 11 years ago at this point.
You started Levie. Tell us about some of your first inspiration. What motivated you to want to do this?
Yeah, well, I was super passionate. I've always been really passionate about writing since I was a little kid. It's really weird, but that's all that I can remember that I wanted to be was a writer. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, I got really into photography and into visual storytelling mixed with writing. So it was kind of perfect at the same time as Instagram basically started, and it kind of paired those two things together perfectly. So you tell visual stories on there, and then, you weave in words. It creates so much more of a dynamic personality for brands.
Right.
So when originally, when I was starting it, that was something that no businesses were doing at the time, which is wild to say now, obviously, because everybody's on Instagram. But there were very few businesses on there, and I kind of started it for a couple of the companies that I worked for, and then I went off on my own.
And this was before Jose, right?
It was. As I met Jose, I was already working in marketing. So marketing is really my background. It's what I went to school for. And then again, he was super into design. So that combination was really interesting for us. And basically, I was working one job, and a previous employer came to me and they're like, we haven't been able to find anybody to head up our marketing since you left. Right. Could you do it for us freelance? So then Jose supported me all the way. He's like, quit your job, go for it 100%. I believe in you. And so then I just
So let me ask you, when somebody's wanting to come and start paying you, for your first opportunity, how did you feel about that? Was that one of those things where you're like, I don't know if I can do it? Or I know I've got this passion, I know I've got the skill set, I know this is my background, but working for somebody else, being employed by them versus now you're responsible to execute. How did that make you feel? Did you think you could do it?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was young and overly confident.
Yep.
Also, my parents are entrepreneurs. So it's kind of all that I grew up with. And my dad always told me growing up, you can either work to make your dreams come true or someone else's. So I was never scared of kind of striking out on my own. I didn't know how hard it was going to be. Yeah. So when I started it, I went in with complete confidence. The reality of that was that basically within a few months of starting the company, Jose joined me because I started to get in way over my head.
As we all do in entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And at the time, when I started, it's I was doing all the copywriting, the photography, aspects of the design. It was overwhelming, but I absolutely loved it. He brought in this whole different element of design. And when you have an incredible graphic designer like him, you can do so much more with basically the creative work that you're doing. Right. So it's bring things to life in a whole new way.
Right. And that's something for example, with Beach Weekend, with, the business we're engaged with primarily, we've seen that this year, bringing Ren on full time, the amount of stuff that we've been able to pump out, the ideas, the getting products to market faster by having someone with that skill set that can help bring these crazy ideas to life in a tangible way. That's 95% of the battle. Then
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
the business development side that comes along with that.
And the inspiration, that is behind the creativity, sometimes it gets lost if the process is too long, right?
Right.
And I think some of the challenges that we had in Beach Weekend before we brought the design team in-house was we would get going down a track with this inspiration. And if the lag was too long in getting those back, I feel like we were already shifted gears. So to be able to have that inspiration, be able to get some feedback quickly, we were so much more efficient in telling that story. And I think at the end, it was a better product because it was in-house, because we could deliver it on a timely manner.
100%. Speed is really important when it comes to the creative process. It's like when we're starting a branding project, we're all in. Like we're living and breathing it as much as we possibly can. And again, our whole strategy is that we go as deep as possible with as much curiosity as we can about each industry that we're entering. And then we're there until we have something. Like mentally, I'm there 24/7.
Yeah.
So when you started this, it was you. Jose comes along. Now you've got your team that you can start putting things, getting it to the clients even faster. But nowadays, you guys have multiple designers on your staff and your team. Obviously, you're handling it's not just you and handling a few digital marketing clients now, but you've expanded to where now you're working with these international brands that are huge. So talk to us a little bit like about your creative process, like back then and now. Like, has it changed over the years?
I mean, overall, there's that little bit I think the creative process is really interesting, and the inspiration that you get, it's not a linear type of situation. So you have to really create like space for that presence of the great inspiration to kind of come to you.
And you can't necessarily punch in at 8 a.m. and clock out at 5 and you're going to get it, right?
No, it never works that way.
And you're not just working on one inspirational project.
Right.
You're switching gears probably between 2 different, 3 different, 5 different projects, trying to pick up where you left off, be efficient, and be able to provide that product and that thought process specifically for that one project.
100%, which is why it's amazing to have a complete team now. At the beginning, when it was just Jose and I, it's like, you push so hard to get, especially that initial brand story down, because that's really where 80% of the work goes in. And that makes the last 20% so much easier when you have that really strong base, that really strong brand identity and story going. Then everything from that point is so much easier when you're working on packaging or collateral or website design, because you already have everything in the brand book ready to go. But that initial brand book takes so much out of you. And it was cool for us. And again, it's like the only way that we know how to work at this point is like together, and it's in a very fluid way. So we work sometimes all the time. If we're on a deadline, we'll work all night or do whatever we need to do until we have that brand that we feel super proud of and that we feel like it's a perfect fit for the client.
The people that are listening in the entrepreneurship world, if they're thinking about starting a business or have a business, what do they do first? What is the first step? Is it a name? Is it a logo? Is it a story? I mean, what guidance do you have for people listening that are maybe wanting to do what you did, step out on their own, create their own business? What is the first step?
I think about this a lot. I think for me, the first step is always clarifying the idea. How is it going to make money? At the end of the day, you don't have a business. I mean,
What you said, though, is something that I probably should have learned a long time ago. I typically get so excited and so passionate about a direction. I get to where I've already put in the resources and the time and get to a roadblock and say, hey, there's absolutely no way to monetize this. This was a lot of fun. This is a great story and it's a great name, but there's really nothing to it. I mean, there's no way to make money with it.
Listen, sometimes even if you figure out the money-making aspect first, you still hit these dead-end roadblocks all the time. And that's where I love to come up with a lot of ideas and push them as far as I can. And then you have to make that decision. Like, is this something that I want to dedicate my life to seeing through or not? Yeah. So like with Levie, when we started it and when we continued to kind of refine what we were doing, and we realized that the combination of our skills and passion was creating like these full-scale, really badass brand identity systems together. And we had a lot of fun doing it together. It also challenged us and pushed us in ways that was really exciting. And again, we love entrepreneurs. Like, we love working with people with big dreams. So going through that process with people and getting to do it with so many different companies every single year. First of all, we never got bored. Yeah. And it was something that was constantly like challenging and exciting to us, which we just loved.
So going back to the question, if I'm a new entrepreneur and I've got this idea or I'm thinking about starting my own business, what do you recommend as the first step? I mean, is it really trying to come up with a business plan for money, or is it trying to really polish the idea and the concept and then working backwards, maybe a name that represents? What do you think would be the first step?
I mean, the first step is always asking, how does this add value to the world? And I think understanding where the value add is super helpful for us, even when we're looking at branding and design. A lot of clients come to us without a name. So you don't have to have a name to start a business. I think that's something it's interesting because some people take it much more personally, and it can be beneficial sometimes if the founder names it. Because
or it also can be terrible because they got a terrible name,
right?
And then they're hiring
and
you,
they're holding
like,
on to it for dear life.
Which then can make your job next to impossible, because in your professional experience, you're like, listen, there's so many problems with this thing that is so personal to you. It will never be personal in the story that you're trying to tell, because it doesn't relate to the person. Right.
100%. And that's the thing. And sometimes when it's really personal, you can't beat the name. Like, so it's very complicated because you can have an amazing personal name, but for humans, it's all about the sound of the name. So it has to sound good. Or again, like, it has to be things that people have an emotional resonance to, or relate to in some way. So I think that it's super helpful when the name has a lot of depth, which is why sometimes clients will come to us with just what they're working on. And it's like, okay, then we go into a ton of questioning on understanding, like, how does this business add value to the world? You know, what are your key differentiators? Again, diving into research, diving into the founders' like personal inspirations, their childhood, what's really like motivating them. So it's basically all these personality quizzes to kind of get to the core and the crux of the meaning of the brand and get to that depth. And I think, again, when you have that depth, authenticity is very natural. So we start from this base of a lot of depth and authenticity. And then from that, we go into just like these naming deep dives, which is so much fun because, again, I love words. Right. So like that's always been one of my favorite processes, is the naming one. And then we kind of present the client based on all of these discussions with different directions and different names, and also these backstories for the names that have a lot of depth and meaning, even if they're not going to be a part of the brand story. Once we get into the design process for the founder, I think it really needs to have a lot of meaning and connection to them.
So when you show them the name for the first time, do you like to present that with some visual references as well? Or you're strictly going name, text, font, form, and then easing into a design once maybe the name kind of fits the mold? I
mean, we're a design agency, so of course we
make
it look good. Right? Yeah, like we make it look good, but we like to keep the design super simple, just with maybe an essence of a direction that we might go in for the brand. So there might be some differentiators on typeface that we use for each of the names, which again, typeface is the font. Right. And then again, some variations on color that we feel like might fit best for that name. And then again, we look into trademark availability, domain availability, and kind of try to figure that out for the client ahead of time. And we go in rounds. So we'll do a naming round of somewhere like 12 to 15 names the first round. Most of the time, you'd be surprised, like, they find it in the first round. So oftentimes, like, we do up to 3 rounds. We want them to find like their perfect name. But I will say, again, the vast majority of the time, it's in the first round. They love the name and they just go with it. Sometimes they want to see a second round just to see like what we could come up with. Yeah. But yeah, it's a cool process. It's really fun.
I had a potential customer recently that came to me and they said, hey, here's our idea for the business. We need you to get it to the market. So go ahead and just build us a website. And I'm thinking, that's not how this works. Now, you can go find anybody to just go build a quick website, but if you're building a brand, it doesn't just start there. In fact, that's one of the last things you should probably
let me
do.
interrupt you just for a minute.
Right.
It's really nice that you preach that to somebody else, but when you and I do it, we do it the wrong way.
We just go ahead and build the website.
Just
Well,
like,
let's build a
do
website.
it.
We're selling it. Oh, wait, hold on. What are we even selling? What
Well-
product? But we got a great website and a great idea.
But the reality is for us, because we have that skill set,
Yeah.
that background. And one of the things that I know, Tia, like deep in you is just, you have this gut instinct and this intuition for how to develop a good brand. So for a lot of people that are listening that are coming and saying, I've got this idea, I want to get it to the market. Like, it doesn't just start with building a website. Like, the value is in the person or the agency that knows all the steps in place to connect with the emotion from the potential customer. Again, the whole goal here is for this thing to add value to the world, which add value to the world then means you're going to make money with it. But there's
Right.
a lot of layers that your expertise, Levie's experience, is able to coach and make sure people get that value. So when they do enter the marketplace, it can sell.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
a good looking website without thinking through those things, or it may actually just be they've developed a bad website because it doesn't, connect emotionally with
Right.
anybody. So it's not just about the product. We've talked about this before. It's not just having a great product, is can you tell the story of the product? And I
Yeah.
think that's something that I've noticed you all have done extremely well, is your value is in the nuance, and it's in the story. It's in the gut instinct that whatever you all touch just turns to gold. And that's not just because you clicked on Fiverr and bought a website, right?
Right.
And talking about the emotional, I think Brett brought up the emotional part quite a few times, is that can be a font. It can be a color. It can be a name or the way it's displayed on the page. That there's a lot that goes into trying to attach the emotions to your business
Yeah.
so that people can connect to the name, to the product, and then it obviously connects into the story.
Yeah, I mean, they all have deep emotional impact. I'm obsessed with color. So
Yeah.
color is so important to me when working on a brand. Same with typographies. And also there's, again, especially in the last 4 years as we've built up our team, we love those little branding Easter eggs, those surprises, that
Mhm.
secondary brand building, the illustrations, the animations, kind of like really adding that element of surprise and connection for the consumer so that they bond more and more with the
What
brand.
would be some good examples of the Easter egg or the little design bonuses that you had? What would that be?
So basically, again, I can maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we did a company called Romy, which is very funny because we worked on their naming as well. Their original name, and their basically like their original name was Sexton Stays. And they do, kind of like these short-term rentals. And so we went through the whole naming process, and it's really for a specific type of clientele. And we focused on the roamers, and that was where we came up with the name Romy, and they were able to get romy.com. So it's
Cool.
really great.
Yep.
And their buildings are amazing. But throughout that process, we branded it, and we worked on this whole core brand identity system. And then we also decided to illustrate this fox. So it's a roaming animal, a roaming fox
cool, yeah.
named Romeo. And he goes to all of the cities, and we have illustrations in all of the cities with him. So he's a really special added touch for
Cool.
their customers.
And something else, Tia, you sent my wife a link to a perfume company
Oh,
that,
yeah.
if you remember correctly, one of the wonderful ways that they went to market is you actually had to go and purchase hey, I want to have the opportunity to buy the perfume. You couldn't just go to the website.
Yes,
Remember
you
this?
get on the ledger.
You get
which
on
is
the ledger,
genius.
which
I
is-
love genius marketing.
Exactly.
I'm obsessed.
And so I go to this website with Alicia, get her on the ledger just for the opportunity to buy the perfume. And then, I'm a video guy. I love visuals. I love story. And so I go to this website, and they've got their own short films, 50, 60, 70 short films. 3 hours later, I'm still watching perfume short films.
Yeah.
Like as a dude, like that's how good their marketing was. And I'm just trying to think, how do I get my wife a nice little bottle of perfume for, Mother's Day or whatever?
I know. They're so smart because there's a subscription. So you get one and get charged every season, which you end up with more perfume than you could ever use. The company is Fern,
Yep.
but it's beautiful. And oftentimes with the subscription, they'll send things like last time I got sugared violets,
Yep.
which is a tradition made like for the past 250 years in Europe. It's amazing.
Right.
So yeah,
But that's
So
all-
you bought into the story.
I buy in. Yeah.
Brett bought
it's a
in
good-
and he brought the product, which is
And I'm a
unique.
dude and I don't even
Yeah.
wear perfume. But that's the point. Like as a professional in your space, I mean, you guys are in the top 2 or 3 luxury design firms in the nation. For you to even be captivated says something pretty special. And I know that's the kind of value you try to bring to your clients. And I think that's where your gut instincts lie, is like understanding those special Easter eggs or those nuances and bringing them to your customers.
100%. I mean, our whole team, we encourage to constantly be looking for inspiration and also looking at what incredible brands are doing out in the market right now. So every week on Monday at our team meeting, somebody is sharing like really inspiring branding that they saw in the past week. So we're constantly getting refreshed with new ways of doing things, new exciting things happening. And that really helps to motivate us and show us what's possible. And
Right.
then we kind of take that into the branding process in the sense that we're constantly expanding, learning, trying to grow, especially again with things like AI. We're trying to embrace it as much as possible to only help expand our capabilities.
So question for you, AI, ChatGPT, like we all use it.
Yeah.
Someone I know, like one of your primary skill sets is writing. You love to write.
Yeah.
How has that like helped you? But also like, I know for me personally, it also makes me feel like, well, my passion isn't needed as much. Like, how do you cope with that? Or do you just lean into this as a tool that I can help elevate my skill set?
It definitely causes a bit of an identity crisis, especially as it gets better and better. Because at first it was like, the past few years you go on there and I'm like, oh, well, this is awful. Like nobody, if you use this for your brand, everyone will know that it's chat. But lately it's only gotten sharper and sharper. And now you can have it mimic your voice or mimic the voice that the client is kind of going for. Now, the benefits of that are that, again, you can meld and shape and have more copy. And again, because you're working through the brand identity, you can only get better and better with that curator and that editor's eye. You can only expand on it. And a lot of times, like, it's always a challenge for me, I guess, because copywriting is a big part of what I do, to have and see what chat can come up with and then see what I come up with on my own and then see which one's better, you know? And that's kind of the way that I base it off. And sometimes we'll use certain elements of what chat came up with. And then sometimes it's just totally off, especially with the hyper creative stuff.
Yeah.
It's more of a regurgitator of what's already out there. So it's not going to give you a lot of new, fresh things that haven't been seen before. And also a lot of things that potentially people like can really relate to deep down. Yeah. So we found with the extra creative work, it's not helpful at all.
Right.
Actually, it's going to be lame and it's not going to resonate.
The issues on the other side, when someone comes to you with a story or an idea or a concept that you guys just don't like, what is your...
Especially when they're willing to pay you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not our job to like it. Like, that's the first step. One of the other things is that you want to have a lot of different types of people and different types of designers on your team as well. Because something that like I'm not going to relate to, like a super like masculine guy's brand, like it doesn't click for me.
Right.
It's my job to try to connect to it and again connect to the founder's passion and connect to why they care about this and make sure that that's being seen through. Yeah. But then maybe I'll lean more on Jose or one of our other designers to be like, okay,
so is that the normal, anything that maybe is not a great idea, we hand it to Jose? Is that kind of what we do?
Basically.
Jose, we're really going to throw you this one here. You're going to show your magic. That's right.
Do you want to make money? Figure it out.
Basically.
Jose, I got a really good one for you here, brother.
But it's like, then it's our job and it's been really interesting. I mean, we've worked on some projects that were so outside of our comfort zone and those have been so cool to work on because just because it's not my taste doesn't mean that it's bad. Yeah. And it's my job to take their taste and what they care about and love and make it look look as good as possible and connect with their audience as much as possible.
And sometimes like when we're stretched, it forces us into the unknown. And sometimes that's where the best work comes out. Even when we tap into something that we didn't even know we could do. Right.
Totally. Well, that's what it's like when we get really stuck on a project, because sometimes we'll go through, we go through brand mapping with our clients, which is kind of like brand therapy, through a couple of different meetings with them. And we really try to get to the core of their story, and we try to get as much information as we possibly can. And then I play client advocate throughout most of the process. So I'm making sure that we're staying aligned to their dreams. At the end of the day, like my goal is for them to be crying when they see it, because we've brought their dreams to life.
Right.
That's like, if we haven't done that, then I feel like we failed.
What do you think about, I know converting or changing back into the real estate world and dealing with designers more in space design, furniture, color palettes, and building materials.
Yeah.
Is, sometimes a good designer is really visible when they can take what you like and work your taste into the design, into the space to create your vision, opposed to forcing their vision on you. Right?
100%. And that's what a lot of design firms do, is you'll see a lot of the work is very similar.
Yeah.
For us, I think what's so interesting about us is that like most of our brand identities, they're all very starkly different. And it's because we take that approach. And I think it's been helpful because Jose, from the start, it was kind of like Jose is design and I'm client advocate, marketing, and kind of vision oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to tell him like, and I think a lot of designers, they get stuck in their creative ways. They get stuck in what they think looks good
100%.
and what they learned in design school, and that's it. And for me, I'm like, no, I don't care.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look good, and if it doesn't look like what I know the client thinks looks good, then I'm not going for it. Like, we're not going to share this with the client.
And
so
and I hope you guys listening understand the importance of it, because it's really difficult. And I don't think it's taking advantage of a designer, is that we're not hiring you to force your design on us, even though sometimes we need it. And it's nice to hear that. But I think the really good designers that set them apart is that they can take your vision and design it perfectly for your vision, not the designer's vision.
100%. And again, sometimes if we have something that a designer feels really strongly about, we'll throw it in there as an option to say like, hey, listen, you inspired us. Like, we do have a little bit of a different vision, and here it is. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, right.
And again, that's just where like we're testing the waters to see how open-minded the client is. If we know that it can be better in XYZ ways, we're going to push it to that. And then sometimes it just doesn't work. The designers will, especially back in the day, it's like Jose shows this to me and I'm like, this isn't it. And then I have to kind of like take the kids to the park, I have to go for a walk outside. I have to completely clear my mind. And then, kind of re-go through in my head, like all the notes from the clients, go through all of the design inspiration that we thought of and kind of like completely reset. And then sometimes like the idea will just pop in my mind.
How much time do you guys typically give for this entire creative process? And does it change based on the deliverables, obviously?
It's anywhere between 4 and 8 weeks to have a completed brand book. Typically, I think what we have is our initial kickoff meeting. So from kickoff meeting, the client is going to see creative work within 2 to 3 weeks. And again, during that time, that's where we're putting together the brand book. Now, we really do try to take a one method approach. We found that to be the most successful with clients, which is where basically like we get as much of that information as we can from them. And then again, you're paying us. It's our job to figure out the brand. And branding, as you said, like branding is very hard. It's hard to create a good brand. Yeah. And we take that on and we want to give the client a complete vision from the start. So in 2 to 3 weeks, they're seeing like a 50 to 70 page brand book with this thing they have not seen at all. Like they haven't seen any of the creative before. And then it's our job to know like if we nailed it or not. So we're showing them again, like visuals in photography. We're showing them an initial word mark, which is basically like the lettering of the logo, then a brand mark, which is kind of like the little symbols. And then maybe an illustrative system, a pattern, all the messaging and the taglines, the way that we see kind of the brand flowing, and then some preliminary mock-ups.
Right. And it's so difficult because it's also so subjective. Like the client's going to interpret it one way. You're also, as a professional, trying to think through how the market's going to interpret it. But then at the same time, you've got you and your team who are deeply invested in this.
Totally.
So trying to align all these things for this subjective concept that there could be, in 20 designs, there could be 7 of them that work.
Yeah.
So,
And again, part of that is like our designers in those couple of weeks are creating dozens of potential logos. They're referencing, we like to reference inspiration from anywhere and everywhere based on those initial calls. And that's where we're trying to narrow it down and get down to that, like really that core of the business, which is very tricky and it's very scary. And in our first couple of years, we had definitely a lot of misses and a lot of things that we learned from. And then over the years, we kept honing our process. And we found that, again, the more that we listened and the more that we understood the client, then it was like hit after hit after hit. I mean, I'm not kidding. And again, I'm definitely not bragging, but I would say that 90% of our projects are pretty much from the first brand book draft. Like they're keeping most of everything that's there. They might be like, wow, I can't believe it. You nailed it. Hey, maybe can we see some different typographies or maybe can we see some variations on color? And then from that point, we're able to then get into the nitty gritty of like, okay, maybe the photography is off. Like this isn't so it's easy because there's always different things that they love. So they're like, yes, that word mark, like, I just love it so much. I can't believe it, whatever. And they get really excited because they feel that vision of the brand. And we've thought through so many things that you just don't think through if you're not a designer.
What are the things that inspire you to continue to produce high quality brand, high quality products for your customers?
I think that, again, like the way that we live our lives, we love to see intentionality and great design in the world. I think, it's like, which I'm going to butcher it because I don't know, Jose knows all the names of all the designers and everything, but it's like when you look at the subway system in New York City and you see the way that that's laid out and the intentionality behind that, before that was created, it was a disaster. So I think with great design, you have, for lack of a better word, a better life. And you see so much more meaning. So when Massimo Vignelli did the subway system in New York, it was a disaster, very unorganized. And basically he's, one of the most prolific designers of all time. When he designed that subway system, it changed the game. Like it was a game changer for people. And I think that that's great design.
And that's the key, is the inspiration is sometimes is getting outside of the things that we love and what product we want to bring to market and stop for a second and think, how can this actually impact the world around us?
Right.
Thank you so much for sitting with us and chatting with us today. We're so pumped for what you guys are doing. You guys have been an extreme inspiration to Jayme and I on these products that we're rolling out. So thank you for your investment in us and just.
Well, you guys are inspiring us. We can't wait.
Well, thanks for bringing us to Fourth today. We're grateful for all you guys are doing. One of the things too that I think would be great is like we all have these various different areas of life, whether it's family, work, and relationships, and trying to have fun and stay inspired. And so the balance of all that could be a whole nother topic of conversation one of these days.
I'd love to talk about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Follow along with us. Smash the like button. Do people still do that?
Absolutely. Just not ours yet.
Share this with a friend. Make sure you're following up. And Jayme, you got anything else you want to?
No, I just want to confirm that maybe a few people can hit the like button.
Maybe
give us a little inspiration ourselves. I know we're trying to give you guys inspiration. We'd love a little back from you, please.
Anyways, thanks for being with us today. We'll see you soon.